A child can finish school knowing the chemical formula of water, but not knowing how interest on a loan works. They can write essays about freedom, but not understand how debt controls their life. They can memorize the dates of wars, but not explain why money keeps losing value. That's not a coincidence, that's the system. And today, we're going to expose why schools don't teach you about money and what that means for your future. Part 1. The Quiet Design. Schools were never designed to create wealthy people. They were designed to create stable workers, people who show up on time, people who follow rules, people who don't question the structure. That's why you're trained to raise your hand for permission, to sit still, to follow schedules, to chase grades. You are prepared for employment, not for ownership, not for financial independence, not for understanding how power really works. Money is power, and power is never taught freely. Part 2. If you knew how money worked, you'd act differently. If students learned that banks create money through debt, they would ask, why do we owe money that was created out of nothing? If students learned that inflation is a hidden tax, they would ask, why are my savings shrinking while asset owners get richer? If students learned how credit really works, they would ask, why is debt pushed so aggressively onto young people? So instead of teaching this, schools teach financial responsibility, which really means pay your bills, don't ask questions, accept the system. Part 3. Confusion keeps you quiet. A confused population is a controllable population. When people don't understand money, they blame themselves. I'm bad with money. I wasn't smart enough. I should have worked harder. They don't blame the system. They don't question the structure. They don't demand change. Confusion creates obedience, and obedience creates stability. Not justice, not fairness, just stability. Part 4. Why financial knowledge is dangerous. Financial knowledge changes behavior. It makes people less desperate, less dependent, less afraid. And people who are not afraid are hard to control. A population that understands money doesn't panic during economic crashes, doesn't fall for financial traps, doesn't chase meaningless consumption, doesn't stay silent when wealth concentrates. So financial ignorance becomes a feature, not a flaw. Part 5. The Debt Trap. You're told student loans are normal, mortgages are normal, credit cards are normal. Debt is sold as adulthood, but debt also removes freedom. When you owe money, you can't quit, you can't pause, you can't take risks. You must comply. The system doesn't need you happy, it needs you reliable. Part 6. What they could teach, but don't. They could teach how money is created, how inflation transfers wealth, how taxes really work, how debt shapes behavior, how bubbles form, how markets crash, how risk is hidden, how power flows through money. But that creates thinkers, not followers. Part 7. The Real Reason. Schools don't teach you about money because money explains inequality. Money explains power. Money explains who wins and who loses. And once you understand that, you stop accepting empty explanations. You stop blaming yourself. You start questioning the world. And that is dangerous, not for you, but for the people at the top. You were not failed. You were prepared. Prepared for a role. Prepared for a lane. Prepared for a system. But now you've seen the edges of the map, and once you see them, you can't unsee them. That's why schools don't teach you about money, because understanding money doesn't make you rich, it makes you free, and freedom changes everything.